Flash to kick back towards the wing for Levy! Left now, lines them up. It's coming back. Cox is the biggest man
G'day guys, welcome to Red Time Jarryd Barca. Mason Cox here to talk all the latest in the world of footy. Again, another week. Mason, how you going?
I'm going well.
I find it weird to say my name, like Jarryd Barca here. Hello. I don't know. What would your intro
People
be?
are listening. That's all. Like we're in the car with them, or we're in their headphones. You know, it's like a casual conversation.
I get it. I'm just saying it like feels weird to say the name. I don't know.
I'll just say hi to whoever's listening.
What would your intro
Appreciate
be
you tuning in.
if you did the intro?
Oh man, g'day, Mason Cox here with JB, the absolute legend that is.
So you wouldn't say Jarryd Barca. That's good.
JB's quick and easy. That's Australian, right? Oh, you just give each other nicknames.
Yeah.
No one actually says people's full names nowadays.
I reckon I've said Coxie on there. I do say Coxie.
Okay.
I don't.
Most people call me Coxie, I would say.
Yeah. I'm just saying.
That's a typical Australian thing. You just add a Y or an O to someone's name. That's their nickname.
Yes, exactly.
It's very simple, but it works.
10 rounds in. Top of the ladder. Mood must be good at the club.
Yeah, it's pretty good. You could say so. It's
could be worse.
It could be worse. It's been worse before. No, it's really good. It's obviously a good position to be in. You feel like, I guess, like every single week, you kind of have a bit of a target on your back, being up towards the top of the ladder. But for us, I think it's just a good confidence booster that our system and the way we're playing and everything else is stacking up against the opposition. And we can continue to do this, then the sky's the limit.
Yeah, I can't remember. Apologies to whoever put this on X. There was a post about like the last 10 premiers and like that's what it's called. It's what it's called.
Yes, yeah.
Anyway,
keep going.
They did like the last 10 premiers.
Yep.
And where they were after round 10, and like the most frequent ladder position from round 10 to win the premiership was 6th. I think 6th spot after round 10 has won 3 times in the last 10 years. And it's like the only spot that's had like multiple winners apparently.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so whoever's 6th.
Who's number 6 right now?
Hang on, sorry.
We'll come back to
that. I reckon it's like Geelong or something. No, where are they?
Fremantle.
It's Adelaide.
Adelaide.
Congratulations to the Crows.
Good day, Adelaide. They're Bucko 5 this weekend, I think.
Yeah. So. Anyway, no, there's plenty happening.
Yeah.
Lions haven't won a game in a couple of weeks.
Lions are in a bit of a slump at the moment.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff going on up there. Playing at the MCG this week.
Yeah, massive game against the Hawks. Massive game. West Coast as well got their first win.
Yep. Yeah. Great win also, given the situation what happened over there this week. Obviously not the most ideal circumstances, but give credit where credit's due. I think they handled it and spoke really well about the situation that was. And
for sure,
anyone that's a West Coast fan, I think would be pretty proud of the way the weekend went.
Yeah, it's one of their better wins given the circumstances last week for sure. But do you guys, as a club, breathe a sigh of relief when the winless team finally wins a game and gets their first kill? You're not going to be the first kill now? Thank you, St Kilda, for taking the bullet for us.
I think whenever you've been in that position where you haven't won a lot of games throughout the year, you kind of feel for them a little bit. And you do understand it's such, that pressure off your back to win your first game. Because everyone, you can imagine Perth. Like everyone knows Perth is quite a harsh place whenever it comes to the media over there. And if you're not successful, they double down on you. And you can feel for those players that are playing there at West Coast, just trying to get their first win and maybe just give one positive headline for the year so that you don't feel like you're getting absolutely thrown under the bus every week. So I think as a player, you look at that and you feel for the people in the situation, and you hope it's not against you, obviously, the first win, but you do hope that whatever team that is winless at the time gets a win before probably mid-season, just so they can kind of, for the coach and everyone else involved, it can be quite stressful. Yeah.
Well, it always happens anyway. You always think like a team's going to go through winless, but they always get a win somewhere, and just happen to be the Saints. The poor old Saints.
Poor Saints. Ugh.
Anyways, plenty to get to, as I said. We're going to talk the most important positions in the modern game on the field. Are 50-metre penalties too harsh? We'll look ahead to the weekend's games as well. But I want to start with Tassie. Let's talk some Tassie concessions and draft expansion potentially as well. They've been in the headlines a bit, Tassie. They've hired their list manager, head of recruiting, so ducks are in order at the moment.
Derek Hahn, the legend that is, came from Collingwood.
He has.
Good man. Guy that recruited me, actually. It's the same guy that.
What are you telling us?
He was there day one. Oh no, I don't think I'll be around in 2082 or whatever it is when they come in. But he was the first person to actually probably really told me what AFL was.
Yep,
it's kind of crazy. He was at the US Combine.
What did he say? It's just his sport, mate. We do the ball this way, you kick it this way.
Yeah, I think he probably tried to explain it, but I was probably just like a deer in headlights looking at him like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, what the hell are you on
like,
about?
Nick Nui, and Aaron Sandilands. I'm going, who the hell's that? At the time, pretty ignorant, but great man, Derek Hines. So congrats to him getting the gig over there, and I'm sure he'll do very well. He's the reason, partial of the reason I think that we're successful now. Obviously, he puts the team together, so gotta give credit to him, and best of luck for Tassie.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll do a good job. But there have been some reports coming out in the last month about the AFL's concessions that they're going to give Tassie. They've been consulting with clubs about some concessions, as I said. The latest proposal, according to AFL.com, this was this month, but these talks may have advanced from then. So we don't know, but hypothetical anyway, under the current proposal, Tassie would be getting picks 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13 in 2027, which would be their first national draft. But the caveat is they would have to trade 4 of those picks.
Yep.
And the value of the pick they get back, if they trade one of those picks, cannot be more than 40% of what it's worth in points. Which is the DVI.
You got to
system.
explain the situation for people listening.
Okay,
What the DVI is. Give us a bit of
I just made
spark notes of DVI.
I could not have made that any more concise. Did you hear how slowly I was getting through that? Anyway, so hypothetically.
Okay, you should just walk us through this.
Okay. Hypothetically, because this isn't the accurate numbers off the top of my head, but say pick 5 is worth 2,000 points. Pick 1's like 3,000.
Yep.
So I think it's actually 3,000. Say pick 5's 2,000.
Yep.
So they can't get in return for pick 5 more than 40% of what pick 5 is worth, which would be 800 points.
Yep.
Which is worth something like mid-20s or something. So if they trade pick 5 to a club, they can't get anything better back than, say, pick 25, if that's what
a
800
lot further
points
down
is.
the list.
Yeah. So they wouldn't be winning on value, Tassie. But I'm looking at that as the AFL wants them to trade those picks for mature age players with AFL experience, as opposed to just stockpiling the teenagers, which is what happened with the Giants and the Suns. That's how I'm looking at it, which I think is step one to at least trying to make them more successful than the Giants and Suns were on their inception. The other part to this is in years 2 and 3 of their drafts, they'd get picks 5 and 9. They'd be forced to trade pick 5. The league's also weighing up a sign-up salary cap bonus, potentially worth $1 million in their first year. They'll have bigger list sizes, potentially, and access to 9 17-year-olds to pre-list, who would then sit out the 2027 draft pool. So Jeremy Cameron, I think this happened to as well in 2010 or 2011 it was. He was signed by the Giants, pre-listed as a 16, 17-year-old. Which meant he didn't have his normal draft year because he was already tied to the Giants.
Yep.
So that's what that
so essentially
part of the
first
concession
priority
is.
doesn't count against your picks.
Yeah,
automatically have access to that player.
Correct. Yeah. And the Giants and the Suns had a mini draft, which I don't even know if you know what the mini draft is, but this is for
my time.
Anyway, that's just another crazy and confusing part of this.
It's interesting because it's all coming together. Like everyone's kind of asked how this is working. Wants to know exactly if their players are going to be on the line, if they're going to be able to trade up, trade down, whatever it may be, and trying to understand exactly how this expansion team is going to come into the play, and I guess just kind of how the AFL is going to organize it, because there hasn't really been a lot of direction. I mean, they're still trying to figure out where the stadium's going to be and what's happening with that.
Still hasn't got the tick of approval.
That hasn't been approved yet. There's so
Parliament.
many things I think that are still yet to play out. But it's great to be able to see, I guess, for people that are in the industry to be able to understand, okay, maybe we're getting a bit of cloud kind of moved around. We're starting to see a little bit of clarity through this whole kind of thing so that we can start, I guess, preparing for the future. Because a lot of teams, they look 2, 3, 4 years into the future to try to figure out what their list is. And if you've got a team coming in that's Tassie and you haven't any idea exactly how them coming into the league is going to affect your ability to pick players, that throws a massive wrench into the whole thing of like, okay, well, we can't figure out our clarity until the AFL figures out exactly how this is going to pan out. So it's interesting to see how this is done. I do agree with you. I think the 40% DVI thing, that'll incentivize them to bring in experienced players saying, hey, we'll trade you for essentially a lesser pick, and then we'll get the experience is what's going to make up between that pick and being able to have like a top 5 pick.
So pros and cons. The pro is they can get a mature player in with AFL experience. What's the con though? Clubs are clearly going to try and exploit that. Hey, we'll give you pick 30 for pick 5. Come on.
They're going to be put in a corner because it's obviously that everyone knows. And It'd be interesting. Draft night might be actually entertaining. Who knows? We talked about this in a previous episode of like how to entertain and be like interesting whenever it comes to draft night. Maybe this is adding to it.
Yeah, that's one element that I like because, as I said, you can't have a repeat of Gold Coast and GWS without getting smashed by 100 points every single week. So the AFL needs to try and find a way to strike that balance between instant competitiveness and long-term success. That's one step to doing it with this DVI 40% system under the current proposal. I don't think it's enough, though. I don't think it's enough.
You think they need more?
I think they need more. And the way that I think they need more is NHL-style expansion draft.
Okay, yeah.
Would you be pro this or not? Because I don't think if a player doesn't want to willingly go to Tasmania out of contract, free agent, whatever it is, if you're not willing to actually go, then the only other option for them to be instantly competitive is via an expansion draft.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. That's the only way I see them actually potentially playing finals year one. Whether the AFL actually wants that, maybe it's not finals straight away, but finals in year two.
For people listening, explain the NHL-style expansion draft.
Essentially, what the NHL does is a new team comes in. Teams in the NHL can put a block or protect certain players on its roster.
Like LeBron James.
I can't remember how many.
LA Lakers,
I think they actually have rules in there where it's like you have to protect a certain amount from each position or something like that. Yeah. I don't know it off the top of my head. But you protect X amount of players on the roster, and the expansion side can then pick a couple of players from each different team who aren't protected.
So experienced players that maybe aren't top 10 players of the team.
Let's say hypothetically you protect 10 players.
Yeah.
Then Tassie would be able to come in and pick one player, two players from every team. That's the idea of it anyway, as a mechanism for them trying to be competitive and successful quicker than what Gold Coast and GWS were.
I think that would be a great way of making them competitive right away. I will say there's a kink in your armor at that point where
hit me, go.
Contracts are guaranteed for players.
See this piece of paper that I'm holding here?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. This piece of paper
let's
is like
tear that up.
I mean, like that's my contract's the same.
I'll put a lot of effort into this run sheet.
It says
and
great.
You've ripped it up. Anyways,
we're almost done with page one. That's okay.
Yeah, but
I think from players' perspective, a contract is guaranteed whenever you first come to a club or whenever you renegotiate a contract. And if a player doesn't want to go to Tassie, yes, a club can try to push them out. Like that's happened many a times at different clubs. But at the end of the day, I think for a team that is most likely not going to be probably making finals for the first year, second year, or however long it might take, just like Gold Coast and GWS, where it's going to be harder to incentivize them to come down.
Yeah.
And if there's a guaranteed contract on the table for people at a certain amount of money, they probably might go, I'd rather just see the rest of my career out at this club. And then once that contract's done, then we can talk about me moving if they don't have any interest in me.
Yeah.
But for them to cut their contract early to go down to a team that probably won't be successful for the first couple of years, I think most players would probably err on the side of not doing that.
So players wouldn't be for this idea, you don't think?
No, unless if they're out of the side not playing, maybe in that sense where it gives them opportunity. But if you're talking about only being able to protect, 5 to 10 players, like, there's 22 that are out there, or 23 with the sub that are playing every single week. So you still got 12 or 13 guys that are probably, I guess, in that window of being able to be traded without being protected.
Or drafted in this.
Or drafted, in this sense.
Well, how big is an NHL roster? Like 25, give or take. So AFL's almost double that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's an interesting. I do agree. The idea is you need more than anything. Like the baseline of this is you need experience to come into Tassie to make you successul right away. And I think that's also from board level, coaching level, all that stuff.
Yeah,
you need experience in the system to have success there. And the biggest thing for the AFL now is just to figure out how that's going to be manipulated to make that happen.
Have you thought of the chaos that would ensue with a draft expansion?
Oh yeah, it'd be ruthless.
Oh, it'd be amazing. It'd be amazing. But anyway, extra soft cap, tick.
Extra $1 million, understandable.
Salary cap, tick.
Yeah. I think
Academy. I think the academies is the interesting one as well. So they would get, they would have their own academy system, NGAs like every other club does. But I would keep that the same for existing teams as well, because currently you can match a bid anywhere in the draft, but it's just expensive to do so. Yeah. That's the rule change they made last year.
Well, there could be even a thing where like they put into some priority over Tassie-born people that want to go back and play for
I think they should do
state.
That.
I think there needs to be some kind of connection of, obviously Tassie's wanted a team for a long time, and these people that come from Tasmania want to play for the state because it's such a, it's a massive ordeal for them to finally get their first football team. So I think there might be some concession to bring Tassie people back to the Tassie team from another team. Maybe that's some sort of like father-son style, way of doing the draft or trading period for getting people to Tasmania.
Yep. You know what the other pro is with this?
What's that?
The TV product would be awesome. But imagine sitting there as a player that's unprotected.
Wow.
You'd be on edge the entire night.
You'd probably be sitting there in Bali getting a phone call from your agent going, hey, by the way,
you're going to Tassie.
You're going to play at Tassie next year.
You heard of the Apple Isle?
Sorry, what?
Yeah. God, that's funny. Anyway, in the news lately for a lot of reasons, one of those as well is your old coach Nathan Buckley has revealed that he's met with Brendan Gale a couple times.
Yeah.
A couple times. Times. Jesus Christ, Jared.
Go on.
Recently, anyway, he's got that coaching bug, he reckons. So, not to get a headline out of you, but actually, now Stuffer, give me a headline. Would he?
I've not talked to Bucks by any means about this.
No, but you've been coached by him. Would he be a good coach, a good suit for Tassie?
Yeah, Bucks is always a good coach, I think. And yeah, I mean, I think he has the experience and everything to do it if he wants to. It's just whether or not he feels like it, and he wants to take that commitment to take on that stress and everything else. I think like working in the media, it's a little bit less stressful of a job than working a head coaching job, And I think over the last little period, I think he's probably been pretty happy doing what he's doing, and obviously it's a unique role and a very exciting one to be able to go down there and start a Tasmania team. But yeah, time will tell. I'm not in the inner circles of that situation, but there has been a few talks of ex-players, coming in coaching roles with Essendon this week and James Hurd. So seems to be something the AFL is enjoying talking about at the moment.
There are a few options there for Tassie, so we'll wait and see what they do. What have you made of John Noble's start as a Gold Coast Sun?
Love John
See his
Noble.
game last week, 1,000 metres gained.
Unreal.
Yeah.
I've got so much time for that man. He's one of the most incredible people in the AFL and a very kind, loving human being, and someone who was very sad to see go. But I think, like, under the circumstances, everyone was understanding why he left. But at the same time, like, as a person, you're just happy that he's having success, at his new club, and he's going really well and playing really well. I mean, like I said, 1,000 meters gained. Yeah, like you're definitely a game changer in a sense of that, being able to get the ball forward and get across different lines and. In the massive territory game that the AFL is now, a player like that's extremely valuable. So it's great that he's going well up in Gold Coast.
Which is why I wanted to bring this up. He wasn't the only guy that had 1,000 metres gained. I think it's the first time that two players have had 1,000 plus metres gained on the same weekend. Bailey Dale had his 49 touches, got 1,000 plus as well. Should have been a 50 piece.
Should have been 50.
Should have been a 50 piece.
Oh, man.
Did you see Bailey?
I'd be so livid. I'd be so livid. Oh, the reaction almost was just as good. The fact that he actually snubbed him. The reaction after him going, no.
What have I done? Yeah, I've denied him a 50 piece. Goodness gracious. But you just said it there, right? The way the game's evolving these days, it's a high transition game. You think D50 to forward 50 transition, high meters gamed, fast-paced, fast ball movement. Halfback flankers are becoming, I would say, more valuable now than they have been in the past. It's not to say they have never been valuable, but I think they're being recognised more in the current game. And look, we do our Rolling All-Australian team every single week. And to say we could throw a blanket over 50 freaking halfback flankers would be an understatement. There's a lot of them that are having very good seasons, which is why I wanted to know, do you think they are now the most valuable position on a footy field?
They're definitely one of them. I think they're probably they're the most valuable as far as being able to link the three lines. Because remember, the ball obviously gets kicked down line, whatever it is. Like, they're kind of the ones to be able to either have the kicking ability. We look at ourselves, like, I'll compare it to what we've got. We've got Dan Houston playing that spot, Nick Dacos playing that spot, Scott Penderbury at times. Like, and those three players are all known to be elite kicks. I think that position and being able to link up the midfield, the forward line, and everything like that, and be able to break lines. Teams and everyone else is realizing how important that role is. So they're putting very skilled players in there. And I think you look at most teams, there's two types of players that play that position. There's either someone who's a speed player who just breaks lines, talking to Adam Sod, something like that, We've got Isaac Quainer. And then you have the other one, like I said, is someone who's very skilled with the ball by foot, by hands, just very clean to be able to help link up the different lines. So I think it is one of the most important.
Not the most important. The ruck.
I mean,
the ruck forward.
The one, I think everything's different, right? I mean, like, you can't win a game if you don't kick goals, and then obviously you can't win a game if you don't stop goals. And
it depends on the game style as well.
It depends who you're playing.
So the game starts, you got a ruck contest in the centre bounce at the start of the game. So the ruck's important to hit it down to the midfielder who will rove the pack, who'll then kick it to the forward line to the key forward, who will either mark it and have a shot at goal or bring it to the ground for the small forwards to crumb. And if the ball goes the other way from the centre bounce, then your key defenders need to intercept or bring it to ground for the small defenders to rebound it.
This is the beauty of the AFL. It's like you can't have one being successful without the other. You can have a great ruckman, but if you have a terrible midfield, it doesn't
Which
really
is why
matter
there's
too
probably
much.
not a correct answer to this question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's the most important players within a system, maybe.
Yeah.
In a sense of being able to execute that, and halfback for a lot of systems, that is the player.
Yes.
I think there's certain players and positions, given the talent or whatever you're best at in a sense of the forward line, you know, like we've got incredible small forwards. So sometimes for us, like getting to ground is just as good as sometimes taking a mark because you have Bobby Hill screaming through to kick a goal.
Yeah.
And he does that, 5 times a game. So like there's different benefits, I think, to having different players and being able to play to certain players' strengths and using assets and other players to be able to bring that out of them is also one of the most important things. So yeah, I don't know. It's a challenging question to say they're the most important, but I think anyone that looks at the football game goes for transition of football from one side to the other. I would say they're probably the most important person on the ground.
I'd probably stick to the midfield anyway. They're around the midfielders are around the ball more. Maybe the midfielder that can actually chase and put pressure on and run both ways, find his own footy, use it well, hit the scoreboard.
That's why we got the midfielders award. Sorry, the brown though. Sorry, apologies, the brown though.
Well said. That's very well said, and I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah, 100%. Anyone does.
But I mean, it's probably always going to be them. But you're right. I think the recognition of halfback flankers now, given the rise of them, it deserves acknowledgement.
There's credit. Yeah, it deserves credit for sure.
Yeah, you need your good ball users down there. That's it. A 50-metre penalty is too harsh. Does the punishment always fit the crime?
I think the biggest thing that people are having an issue with is the 50 meters whenever we talk about the standing the mark rule.
Yeah, that's a hard one.
I think this is where the majority of people are upset about in that scenario.
To be fair, so they have eased off on this. Like a little sidestep here and there when they brought the rule in a couple of seasons ago was an automatic 50. Now it's sort of like if you fake a handball, they're going to give you that sort of allowance to at least step off accidentally.
Yeah,
but it doesn't mean it's not being paid frequently because it still is.
Well, it's determined on, I guess, like it's just opinion of the umpire. We've talked about this. It's one of the hardest jobs in the world because there's no set in stone, I guess, rule. You have to have some leniency one way or the other. And I think 50 meters, whenever you talk about like, someone standing the mark now, I think it was so harped on at the beginning whenever this thing was brought in that people were getting upset because it was still getting used to it. I mean, you train your whole life, and then all of a sudden, like one rule, which is almost just subconscious to you whenever you do it, is now changed. It's like it takes time to make that subconscious again. And I think for a lot of people, they're frustrated in a sense where like, bang, it was 50 meters right away. Bang, it was another 50 meters. And you're going 50 meters in the grand scheme of things is really 100.
It's monumental.
Like it's because you sit there and go, 50 meters there, but then it's also another 50-meter kick. So then you're really going half the field as a penalty almost.
Yeah, for a little toe poke going over the mark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
a rules kind of guy.
Yeah.
But sometimes I just feel like there should be some sort of middle ground. I just don't know what it is. I know the Sandful has 25 metres and the more severe infringements get 50-metre pentees.
But realistically,
I don't know if we need that.
What's 50 meters? I mean, there's some that are paid there 40 meters. There's some that are paid there 77
yeah.
meters, right? Like there's a vast difference of what meters are here in Australia.
I think the fair margin for error is between 40 and 60 meters. It's like if you get a 40-metre, technically a 40-metre penalty when it should have been 50, that's fine.
Yeah,
but an extra 27 meters.
I think 40 meters is what it should be now. 50 sounds nicer because there's a 50-meter arc and there's 50 meters in the square. Like it kind of makes sense.
Well, it used to be 15.
But
they changed. I think they changed.
It's almost going to take more time to execute that than you just playing on and gaining 15 meters.
15. Yeah. Well, no, that's why they changed it because teams used to exploit it and just give away the 15-meter penalty to slow a game down. That's why they made it a harsher penalty to make it 50 meters. But sometimes I just think little infringements have too big a consequence on a game.
Yeah.
Not to say we should scrap the 50-meter penalty. Maybe we just scrap the stand rule.
I think
that's just.
Let's be realistic. I think that's the solution.
Yeah. There you go.
We've tried. Look, it's been fun, but let's just not do it anymore. I think that's the solution to it all. To be honest with you.
Time to look ahead.
All right.
Don't be surprised if our favorite segment.
Huge.
I think.
Statement
is it your?
Here.
Would you say it's your favorite segment?
I would say it's my favorite segment.
Cool.
Because we get to make just headline news here.
Yes.
It's just headlines after headlines.
I'll make the first headline.
Okay. Go
Don't be surprised if the Saints upset the Suns this week.
Wow.
That's not because
after losing to West Coast, they're going to come back.
Yeah. It's not because I think it's going to.
Do you think Ross the boss is going to give him a big pep up? Or
yes.
Well,
teams are responding this year after massive defeats or morale sapping losses. They just are. This is a mental game as much as it is physical. I think they're going to respond. I don't think they're going to beat Gold Coast. I expect Gold Coast to win and do it quite comfortably.
Yeah.
But they lost to Richmond at Marvel only a few weeks ago. As I said, we've seen teams off big margin losses respond straight away this season already.
Yeah. So you think they're going to beat Gold Coast?
No.
Or just compete with Gold Coast?
Well, read the segment title. It's called "Don't Be Surprised If." So I don't reckon it'll happen, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Upset Gold Coast.
I wouldn't be surprised if they upset Gold Coast, but I still expect the Suns to win. This is a banana peel game. This is every bit of banana peel game for the Suns.
Yeah.
Trust me.
It'll be an interesting one. A lot of people talk about Gold Coast's schedule being a lot easier for the first kind of like half of the year.
Yeah,
and their strength of schedule not being as hard. So, I think you're going to start seeing exactly where Gold Coast kind of pans out on the ladder over the next 5 weeks, maybe I'd say, just maybe right before the midseason bye. They'll have some challenges in there. They'll put them to the test a bit more than probably previous weeks. So, there's every chance the Saints could. I'm similar to you. I think Gold Coast will win this game.
Yeah,
but it'll be interesting at least.
We'll see.
Well, it's either the Saints either compete or there's going to be a lot of press over there at the Moorabbin Football Club, wherever it is, down in St Kilda. If they do lose this game by a decent
Ross will get him up. He's done that already this year.
How do you think
they
Ross
beat
does
Geelong
this?
at
Do you think
Marvel?
he shows up in like Birkenstocks and like still gives a spray, or do you?
Like during the week?
Yeah. Do you think he rocks up just barefoot?
Don't know.
Just go. People are thinking like, oh, Ross is pretty chill, and he just
absolutely
just bang rolls it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what his casual attire would be, but how good their Guernseys have been this season. Maybe he does rock a good fit.
I love Ross the boss. He's the best.
He's great.
I just love his personality. Is so good. I'm a fan for it.
What do you got?
All right. Don't be surprised. This is actually an interesting one that we've figured out throughout the week. Massive game this week, you can imagine. Dreamtime at the G.
Always good.
Indigenous round jumpers. Everyone's seen them last week.
Yep.
They're going to be worn again this week, given the round. And there's something interesting at the Dreamtime game that not many people have talked about. And it's something I would love not to happen. I would love for this not to be an issue and something we don't have to talk about. But I was looking at the teams, and I realized comparatively to last year's and the years before, obviously Richmond have had a few people get traded out of the system. There's not going to be many Indigenous players involved in this Dreamtime game. I think it might be one.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's going to be maybe Rolly plays. I'm not sure, but I don't think there'll be more than 2 players that play in this game that have an Indigenous background.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to say.
Essendon could have 0 if Jade Gresham doesn't play. He's missed the last few with an adductor injury.
Maurice didn't play last week for Richmond.
Maurice Rioli did not play last week. They do have Ryan Mansell, but that could be the only one.
He could be the only one
player
that plays.
So 46 players, and only one would be Indigenous in the Dreamtime game, potentially.
Out of almost 100 players to choose from.
Yeah, given the extra steps we're trying to take to encourage more Indigenous players and players of different backgrounds.
It's sad because you used to see... you used to see Rioli and stuff, and it was such a cool, visual of him, and the pride that he had in the Dreamtime game, and obviously he's been traded now, which, it is what it is, the circumstances, but I think it was such a cool part of the AFL whenever you saw people with Indigenous background having pride in that game and being able to show it to the rest of the world.
Yep.
And it's hopefully there's someone with Indigenous background plays on the day, and hopefully Reece gets up, but. Yeah, it's going to be a different feel, I think, this time around for the Dreamtime game than previously. There was a lot of, players that were involved in it in previous years, and I think this year there's just not going to be the same amount of numbers that are going to be involved as previously.
Yep. No, well said. Good pickup from you.
Interesting pickup.
Unfortunate.
Unfortunate. Hopefully we can change that. But I think it's something to have a look out for.
Yep, indeed. My last one. Don't be surprised if that first stoppage in the Geelong Bulldogs game is a bloody hot one. You bet your backside Libba is going straight to Bailey Smith.
Oh, man. I can't wait.
That's going to be so hot.
Thursday night game. Oh, man.
Has there ever been a more highly anticipated first stoppage?
This is why I love trash talk, though. This is why it's so good. Because then it creates these situations where we're all going, wow, what
What's
the
gonna
hell
happen?
is going to happen the first crack he gets at him? Is he going to go straight through his chest
Chris
or
Scott
what?
will pull a Chris Scott and start Smith on like a halfback flank or something just to keep him out of it.
How big do you think Bailey Smith is on the whiteboard with the target around him for Bulldogs? Do you think it reaches the whole
will clubs do that?
thing?
Will clubs do? Will the Dogs be using that as motivation?
100% He will be a target on them. I guarantee you, without a doubt. I mean, he's going well. Credit to him. He's playing very well.
Brownlow favourite.
But sure. I think, given the comments that have been made previously and the reaction that some of the players from the Bulldogs, Bontempelli, who doesn't really bite back too often, bit back to his comments. It's gonna be juicy. Yeah, it's gonna be a juicy little watch to see these two teams go at it. And let's just say this: there's gonna probably be some fines and suspensions.
A few little fines, a few little birds flipped, and
a few little birds flipped. A few guys
words exchanged,
smacked on their ass and stuff like that. I think it'll be interesting to say the least.
That's gonna be fun to watch.
I'm excited.
We get the popcorn out for that one for sure.
Yeah.
Mate, that's it for another episode.
That's it, man.
North this week, Saturday.
North this week on Saturday over at AFL House. Marvel.
Another interstate trip.
Another interstate trip.
Yeah. Did you know there are 2 games at Marvel on Saturday? So you have your game at night, really? And then Carlton and the Giants are on during the day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they play like 12. We were looking a couple of days ago in the office. We're like, oh, why are Carlton and GWS playing at 12:30 on a Saturday?
Yeah, I got to fulfill the requirements for Marvel.
Yeah, maybe.
For Carlton.
But we also had a look. It's like, oh, hang on. There's a game on after them. That's why they have to start so early.
Do they sell tickets for both games together just for crazy footy fans?
Well, they wouldn't. Imagine being a fan.
Imagine a Carlton fan. Like, I want to see the Collingwood game after
hide up at the back row, just lie on the concrete. What time? How early do you get to games?
Boys. What's that?
How early do you get to games? Like, there wouldn't be a crossover.
I'll get there probably like 2.5 at least.
Yeah, so there wouldn't be a crossover anyway. That's why it's so
we start all of our kind of meetings and stuff. I think it's like an hour and a half maybe before.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then obviously you got to think like you go through all the pre-game sprints and tackling drills and all that kind of stuff,
strapping,
all that jazz. So there's a lot more that goes into it than people probably realize. And then obviously even before that, a lot of people go to the club. We'll do kind of what we call prep, where you kind of warm your muscles up or activate them, and then get in the ice bath or the sauna, or not the sauna, ice bath or the hot bath, and do kind of a bit of a pre-game ritual in that sense. Yep. So a lot of people will start preparing for the game 4 hours before.
Yeah,
which seems kind of crazy. Most people would probably think like that's like half a day of just preparing for a game before you even play it.
Yeah,
but the whole experience is probably 7 or 8 hours by the time you actually get back home.
Yep, full day's work.
Full day's work.
Yeah,
just for 2 hours on the pitch.
Yep, exactly.
That's it.
God, you guys work hard. Go well. Enjoy the game. Play well.
Thanks, mate.
All the best. Thanks for your time today. We'll see you again next week.
That's it.
And thanks to everyone for listening or watching. Speak to you guys next week as well. Enjoy the footy.